There are nights that split your life in two, the before and the after. For me, that night began with a single, piercing radio call. The radio crackled at exactly 11:47 p.m. I still remember the sound, thin and metallic, slicing through the stillness. Structure fire reported, 2347 Maple Ridge Drive, possible occupants inside. The dispatcher's voice was steady, too steady, like someone reading out a sentence. I bolted upright in bed. My brain was still fogged from sleep, but the address hit me like a hammer. 2347. That wasn't just any house. That was my neighborhood. That was my street. 3 doors down from where I lived. 15 seconds later, I was suited up and behind the wheel. I met up with the rest of the crew at the station, all of us silent, focused, the kind of quiet you get when people are trained to move faster than fear. We were volunteers. No paychecks, no sirens of glory. Just duty. And the kind of instinct that doesn't let you sit still when someone's in danger. We raced through the dark streets of Riverside Estates, tires hissing on blacktop, the red flashers painting windows like blood, and then I smelled it. Smoke. Not from a chimney, not from a grill, but the acrid, unmistakable scent of burning timber, melting wires, and something else: urgency. But, as we turned onto Maple Ridge Drive, my stomach dropped. There it was, the chain. A thick metal chain, padlocked across the entrance, blocking the road completely, and behind it a white Lexus SUV parked sideways, as if someone had gone out of their way to stop us. Our 20-ton engine screeched to a halt. Inside the cab, jaws clenched. No one needed to say it. We all knew what this was. I stepped out. The air was already thick with smoke. The sky glowed orange behind the rooftops. 3 months ago I stood right here, at the HOA meeting, warning them this would happen, telling them locked barriers could cost lives. They laughed, called me dramatic, told me to calm down. Now the night was on fire, and I had a sinking feeling I knew exactly whose house was burning at the end of that street. The smell of smoke thickened with every breath. Behind that chain, less than 300 yards away, someone's home was burning, and we couldn't get to it. Not fast enough. Not the way we were supposed to. Captain Rodriguez was already on the radio, his voice tight. Dispatch, we've got a blocked access at Maple Ridge. Heavy chain and a vehicle obstructing entry. Requesting immediate bolt cutters and PD backup. But time wasn't something we had. We had heat, wind, dry air, a perfect storm. I stared at that white Lexus, the same one I'd seen dozens of times cruising the neighborhood like it owned the place. The SUV sat sideways like some suburban barricade, lights off, arrogant and unmoving. That's when the driver's side door slammed open, and out stepped Karen. Silk pajamas, flawless makeup, at midnight, and fury. "What do you think you're doing?" she shrieked, storming toward the chain like she was about to write us a parking violation. "That chain is HOA property. You have no authority to damage it." Captain Rodriguez turned toward her, voice low but firm. "Ma'am, we have a structure fire. There may be people inside. We need access, right now." The Karen planted herself in front of the chain like she was guarding Buckingham Palace. "This is a private road. There are procedures. You can go around. Use the main gate like everyone else." That's when I stepped forward, my voice shaking with rage. "Karen, someone could die while you stand here playing queen of the neighborhood. Move." She turned, eyes narrowing, her voice thick with sarcasm. "Of course it's you, Marcus. Still upset about losing the HOA election. This again." Honestly. Rodriguez had heard enough. He reached for his radio and spoke clearly. "Dispatch, be advised. We have a civilian actively obstructing emergency response. Request law enforcement on site. Priority 1. Karen froze. "Wait, what address did you say?" Rodriguez didn't look at her. 2347 Maple Ridge Drive. And just like that, her entire world cracked open. The anger drained from her face like paint in the rain. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. "That's my house," she whispered. "My daughter's home. She's sick. I left her there. Oh God. Oh God," as she turned to the lock, hands fumbling at her pajama pocket. She dropped the keys twice trying to unlock it. "Please. Please open it. I'll open it. Just save her. Her name's Miranda. She's only 14. She was crying now, shaking, whispering her daughter's name like a prayer and a curse all in one. Rodriguez didn't wait. "Move," he barked, stepping forward with bolt cutters. The chain snapped in two with a metallic shriek. And we were moving again. Roaring past Karen as she collapsed to her knees in the street, silk pajamas fluttering in the wind. And somewhere up ahead, a child was trapped in a house we should have reached 3 minutes ago. The house was engulfed in flames, fire licking out of every window, as if trying to consume everything inside. As we rushed in, thick black smoke hung heavy like a dense curtain, choking all senses. Eyes stung, lungs burned, but stopping was not an option. Together with Mitchell and Davis, I pushed through the front door. The heat hit like a solid wall, nearly knocking me off balance. Captain Rodriguez shouted orders outside as unleashed torrents of water onto the raging fire. We had to split up and search. The roar of the flames drowned out everything else. Burning debris rained down relentlessly. My only thought, find Miranda and get her out alive. The first room was a home office, already fully involved in flames. The second was empty. The third door was closed tight, with intense heat radiating through it. Without hesitation, I kicked it open, and the blaze burst forth. In the far corner of the room, I saw a small figure curled up, Miranda, unconscious but breathing. I scooped her into my arms, feeling how light and cold her body was. My heart clenched. We began our retreat immediately. Behind us, part of the ceiling collapsed, sending a shower of burning debris. Davis cleared the way with his axe as we made our way down the stairs, each step precarious under the heat. Finally, we burst out into the cool night air. Miranda was passed off to paramedics waiting anxiously with oxygen and IV lines. Relief flooded me, but the fight was far from over. Karen hadn't left. She collapsed beside the gurney, sobbing her daughter's name over and over. The look in her eyes, a mix of devastation and fragile hope, told a story deeper than the anger she showed earlier. Karen's house was now a charred ruin. And the delay, caused by one locked chain, had left scars no one could forget. Dawn was breaking, but Karen's house was nothing more than a blackened skeleton, soaked through with water. The darkness of the night before still lingered in everyone's minds. Especially in Karen's eyes, haunted by a nightmare she could never forget. She sat silently on a neighbor's porch, wrapped in a Red Cross blanket, her gaze vacant as investigators sifted through the ashes. Gon was the proud, stubborn OA president. Only a scared, broken mother remained. When I approached, she no longer looked at me with defiance. Instead, she whispered weakly, "Marcus, I want to apologize. Not just for tonight, but for everything I refused to listen to. I let pride, arrogance, and blind control drown out reason. I almost lost my daughter because of it." I sat beside her, too exhausted to argue or offer words of comfort. "Miranda is going to be okay," I said, trying to sound hopeful. "That's what matters." Karen stared at the charred remains, hollow but full of regret. "That chain delayed you." 6 minutes. 6 minutes that the fire chief said was enough to turn a small blaze into a disaster. 6 minutes that almost cost me everything. Silence hung heavy, only broken by the soft wind stirring the ashes. Finally, she sighed and spoke with a determination I hadn't heard before. "I'm resigning. Effective immediately. And I will push to remove every barrier before anyone else pays the price." Simple words, but they marked a turning point. Not just for Karen, but for the whole community. 2 weeks after that night of horror, an emergency meeting was held in the Riverside Estates Community Hall. The room was packed with anxious faces, eyes filled with a mix of fear and hope. Karen stepped up to the podium, looking smaller and more humbled than when she first took power. Gone was the arrogance and defiance. Only sincerity and deep remorse remained. She began her speech with a heartfelt apology to the residents. "I want to sincerely apologize for the mistakes I've made, especially the barriers I insisted on installing. I now realize that power and control should never come before the safety of people." Karen then proposed the immediate removal of all road barriers in the neighborhood. In their place, she suggested implementing safety measures recommended by the fire department and experts to ensure emergency vehicles can reach any part of the community quickly. The room fell silent for a moment, then everyone nodded in agreement. What followed were questions and suggestions on improving security systems, but with a clear priority on life and safety above all else. From that moment on, Riverside Estates changed not just its rules, but also its values around power and responsibility. Though Karen resigned, she continued volunteering with the fire department, eager to make amends and contribute to the community's safety. Just days after the meeting, the full impact of the disaster became clear. Karen's house was severely damaged by the fire, reduced to a ruin that couldn't be easily restored. HOA fines for property violations related to the damage totaled well $12,000, an ironic twist given Karen's previous strict enforcement of such rules on her neighbors. Moreover, Karen's insurance company denied her claim, citing her obstruction of emergency responders as the cause of the increased damage. This left her personally responsible for a mortgage exceeding $400,000 on a pile of ashes. On top of the financial strain, the state fire marshal's investigation led to criminal charges against Karen for reckless endangerment. By blocking the firefighters' access during a critical emergency, she had put lives at risk. The court proceedings drew significant attention. Ultimately, Karen accepted a plea deal, 3 years of probation and 5,000 hours of community service, working alongside the local fire department. The look on Karen's face as the judge read the sentence was one of profound devastation. A moment no one present could ever forget. After receiving her sentence, Karen entered a new chapter in her life. The stubbornness and rigid control that once made her one of the most controversial leaders in the neighborhood gave way to a woman who learned to listen, accept responsibility, and strive to make amends. Karen spent thousands of hours doing community service with the local fire department, not just cleaning and organizing equipment, but also participating in training sessions, learning about firefighting and public safety. She wanted to truly understand the work she had once dismissed and opposed. Over time, Karen became not only a valuable member of the team, but also an inspiration to other residents, showing the power of change, repentance, and perseverance. Stories of her transformation spread throughout the community, helping Riverside Estates become more united, compassionate, and understanding. Karen, once a symbol of excessive control, now stands as living proof that people can change if they have enough courage and heart. Karen's story is not just a personal tragedy, it's a profound lesson about the power of change and forgiveness within a community. Riverside Estates has since become a closer, more understanding community, one that values safety, mutual respect, and empathy. Karen, once an adversary in many meetings, has now become a friend and ally to her neighbors. She's not perfect, but her sincerity and effort have helped heal wounds and rebuild trust that was once broken. Through everything that happened, this story reminds us that power isn't meant to control others, but to protect and serve the community. When someone dares to admit mistakes and change, they not only save themselves but also inspire those around them. And sometimes, just one small action can change a life. Just like a seemingly small chain that led to unforeseen consequences. Karen's story and the tragedy at Riverside Estates serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of humility, responsibility, and the ability to change in life. Sometimes, power and control can blind us to what truly matters: the safety and lives of those around us. Karen's painful journey from arrogance to remorse, from conflict to empathy, shows that everyone can make mistakes, but what truly counts is having the courage to admit them, learn and grow into a better person. The message this story sends to each of us is clear: no one is perfect, and no one is immune to life's challenges. Change is never too late if we genuinely want it and commit to it. Moreover, forgiveness and compassion from the community are the flames that heal wounds and rebuild trust. Always remember, power and leadership are not about control or domination, but about protecting and serving others. When we listen, when we put people first, we create safer, stronger, and more loving communities. This is the invaluable lesson Karen's story offers to all of us. If today's story touched your heart, please take a moment to like and share to help spread the message of change and community responsibility. Every interaction supports the channel's growth and helps awaken others to the value of humility and forgiveness. Don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts and experiences. Your voice is what builds a stronger, connected community. Together, let's create a safer, kinder world for everyone.